Portugal.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and the podcast. Are you feeling hungry? Have you had your breakfast yet? I have a little serving suggestion for you. Yesterday, all my trouble seems... No, we were at the Storytellers Hotel. We were in the Gatsby bar from midday. I hit the ground running with a rather crisp and fine Vinha Verde and ended some hours later. Still there at about 5 o'clock, I think, yesterday afternoon. And what a shame, because the weather was so good yesterday, but I spent most of my time, we talked about bunkers, weren't we? I spent most of my time in a bar bunker and the dining room of the Storytellers yesterday. I really enjoyed it. This is my serving suggestion. This is what we climaxed with on the dining table. Loving the sound there. It slowed down. My new German best mate, and I have to say, I've got I think there are 4 Germans there yesterday. All of them best mates now, but the newest of those, Karsten, a paragliding, I think, international man of mystery. Basically, great to meet you, Karsten. And what a laugh. When you have, I think, a Brit and a German, slightly boozy and laughing really loud, that must have been really annoying for other people. So I apologize for that. And this is his slow motion video of our dessert, the chocolate earth. So you crack the top of that. Actually, I'll go through the whole menu, and I have to tell you that it was a bit of a Marmite experience. It wasn't. I don't know if enjoyed is the right way, but people were surprised, and Marco always is full of surprises at the Storytellers with the menu, and I really love the adventure he takes us on. And some people were a bit phased by it. The choice of main courses was salmon or ribs. I went for the ribs. And a lot of the reason why a lot of people didn't go for the ribs is because they were too posh and prissy about it. Thought, oh, I'd love ribs, but I'm not going to be picking up ribs and eating them. A networking do. Well, I think a lot of them will be definitely having the ribs next time, because the salmon wasn't salmon as they knew it. Now, this is the thing, isn't it? When you're ordering something in advance, and it comes out, it's not quite as you imagined. This was salmon. I think, I can't remember, because I was focused mainly on my ribs, and I did try some of the salmon with a bit of caviar and some avocado puree. It was very posh, and it wasn't huge in volume, but it was very, very fine, and I enjoyed it. And the salmon pieces were wrapped in, I guess, some sort of green leaf. So the salmon was looking green, which doesn't sound the most appetizing thing, but it was absolutely delicious and beautifully presented on the plate. And whilst most people were having the salmon, they were lustfully looking at my ribs, not my ribs. Although, actually, having said that, the funny thing about yesterday was, on arrival, there was a poster up saying Carl's lunch. And I looked at it and thought, hold on a minute, that could be taken a number of ways. I mean, yes, I was very glad to be the host of the lunch yesterday, but the apostrophe could have made it Carl is lunch. So I want to make it clear that I was at the lunch and I wasn't for lunch yesterday. Although that's equally ambiguous, isn't it? Anyway, we started with an Alentejo soup, the sort of thing Marco's Alentejano parents, grandparents, in fact, might have made back in the day. So a lovely coriander soup. And it had a piece of white bread in it, the biggest crouton you've ever seen, and then a poached egg on top of that, which I really enjoyed. That, again, phased people, I think, as well. Went into the ribs, some had salmon, and then that chocolate earthquake. One more time. And underneath that chocolate cap was a mixture. There was some nuts in there, some raspberry and a slightly bitter cream going on in there as well. Absolutely delicious. So thank you, Marco and Miguel and the whole team, Luis, for making some lovely virgin cocktails yesterday afternoon as well. The kids came along late in the afternoon. And I said, look, come to the cocktail bar, get you a cocktail. And they loved the posh cocktails that they had. Your apple pear, a virgin mojito. Great fun. Lovely to hang out with you, Carl Hyde, for a little bit longer than everyone else because you love that place so much. And everyone who turned up. Tor, great to start the afternoon off with you in the Gatsby bar. And thank you for your very kind offer. And everyone else, everybody, too many to name. And apologies to the people who I didn't get to talk to. Got trapped in a corner with Karsten and Kai. And Bob Pereira, lovely to meet you in real life, Bob. And what a giggle we were having. So time flew and I didn't get a chance to say hello to everybody as much as I'd have liked to. And I've got to tell you about a fantastic pizzeria, a pizza restaurant in Caldas de Rainha. And I'll be talking more about that establishment, which is so beautiful. Pizzas look so fantastic. It's the place of Tiago. And he and partner Dulce were at the lunch yesterday as well. She is a very interesting lady too. Lovely to meet you both, Dulce and Tiago. And I can't wait to go to the Donna Branco pizzeria in Caldas. It was one of these really well kept, well hidden establishments. Looks fantastic. They do a bit of open air cinema. The pizzas look fantastic, and the building looks incredible as well. And even I've chatted to mates in Caldas. You never knew it was there. I wonder if Heather knows about Donna Branco. I'll be asking her about that at around 9 when she joins us. Today, of course, we are hanging out with Heather, and she'll be extending her offer of $100 off, a discount off her visa packages, and her ongoing 10% discount for veterans who use her services. So it's a Hangout with Heather Portugal Q&A from 9 this morning. And she has an encyclopedic understanding. She was on the Portugal Club call on Tuesday evening, and Heather has an encyclopedic understanding of what it takes to come to Portugal. Because I think along the lines of what she was saying the other evening was that she's made every possible mistake it is possible to make, because she came here before the current vogue and wave, the new vogue, the new wave, and didn't have people to help her. So she's made all those mistakes so that you don't have to, and you can quiz her about any aspect of moving to Portugal. We recorded a video as well of, this is on the Portugal Club on Tuesday evening, of Bob and Viv and their process of bagging an appointment for their renewal, their residency renewal. And there are some technicalities there in the nomenclature, the vocabulary around the D7 and renewal. We'll unpack that with Heather as well at 9 o'clock. So looking forward to talking to Heather, especially about the Donna Branco pizzeria. Who's in this morning? Let's be having you. Pinky's back. Mr. S, haven't seen you for a little while. It was, I don't think it was guacamole, Mr. S, because there wasn't a lot of garlic in it. I think it was a little bit, it wasn't quite as strong as guacamole could be, but I see what you did there. And Coach Turner James in as well. Baddy, where are you, Baddy? Hola. Hola, bon dia from a wet and stormy Iceland. I think the sheep in Portugal have been calling for you, according to Suze. Baddy. They want to see you back in Portugal, counting down the days. 12 to go, and I will be back, says Baddy. And Ocean Dweller, Aviva, good morning to you. Chocolate Earthquake, what a dessert. Absolutely. You were the dessert dweller, weren't you, for a little while? Oh, no, desert dweller. But maybe that could be your next nom de plume, dessert dweller, as you taste the desserts of Portugal. The world, perhaps. Mr. S, bon dia. GMT -5 in beautiful Boston. So your weather's looking pretty good there. And now I didn't have a good study of this weather chart sent to me yesterday. All I could see really was a lot of sunshine, but that's not too shabby, is it? Central Portugal, I think that is. Anton's weather report. It's like a dream come true. Thank you, Almighty Grandfather, for the blessing. With all the darkness going on in the world, we all need a bit of sunshine. Well said, Anton. And this was, I think it was posted up a couple of days ago with highs of 20. So the temperature is rising and the lows are getting higher, if you see what I mean. Not just the temperature, but hopefully spiritually and energetically for people as well. How did the full moon treat you? I think the Mrs. M, as I recall now, she was up and about in the night. So I think the full moon got the better of her. Jackie was talking about that yesterday, wasn't she? She has a bit of insomnia around the full moon time. How was it for you last night? I slept like a log. Might have had something to do with spending quite a few hours in a bar yesterday. And tonight, I'm in the company of Jackie on the Expats Portugal webinar. Why moving to Portugal exceeded my expectations, and it is a cost of living special. So we will be looking at the numbers, but what makes those calls more fun than just looking at the numbers is chatting about Jackie's personal experience here. And as you can see there, how being here has not only been a better value, but it has also been just exceeded all her expectations. And she's delighted to be here, and she'll be saying more about that this evening from 7:30, and the Dream Team session, of course, at 9 as well. I've got a link for you if you want to sign. If you're not already a member of Expats Portugal, the one-stop shop approach to moving to Portugal. There's the affiliate link for you right there in the chat now. And you can go through and you get priority treatment on the Dream Team sessions and on the webinar there. So there you go. There's the link to Expats Portugal. Oh, morning all. Bobby O'Reilly, good morning to you, mate. How are you this morning? And we'll be hanging out in Coimbra this weekend, as I think Bobby's mentioning there. Morning all from Bobby. Lunch sounds like it was great. Looking forward to Coimbra at the weekend. Yes, me too, mate. And it was great. And I think that's the risk, isn't it? The risk that a daring chef takes is to have some people so, I guess, disappointed because they were expecting something different and not being able to sort of shift with what ends up in front of them on the table. As somebody who's enjoyed quite a few excellent lunches and dinners, and served a few up yourself as well from every angle of the table, it would seem, Bobby, you'd know a thing or two about that. How do you push the envelope when it comes to, I guess, changing things for people and their expectations of certain dishes and their requirements? I mean, people want a baseline, don't they, of value and taste and some sense of recognizing what's on the table. And it takes quite an adventurous diner, doesn't it, I think, to have their mind stretched. What's your view on that, Bobby? Como estás? Mr. S is asking, and fizeste a tua vagão como sempre. To Pete and Mr. S are having a bit of a chat in the chat. They're having a chat in the chat here. And Solar Life, you could just blow your nose hard to get the same flavor, texture, and calorific value as crushed avocado. It sounds like he's not a fan of guacamole, although guacamole does sound like something you might shout when you sneeze. Guacamole! Gesundheit! Bless you. That's what my new German pals would have said yesterday. Guacamole! Bless you. Sold. And green salmon. Yeah, do you think that was a push too far? Green salmon. The people don't like green or purple, do they? Unless it's a vegetable. I think green and purple really upset people unless it's salad and veg. Okay, now we've been talking about Peter Bleach here, and we were talking about billionaire bunkers yesterday, weren't we? And Pete very kindly sent some pictures of him in a bunker. Is this the one in Prague, Pete, where you captured? It looks like where you were captured, but where you captured images of yourself having a great time in a bunker in Eastern Europe, by the sound of it. Here we go. Pete Bleach. This is the bunker in Prague. Okay, in the second picture is the listening room where you could listen in to every hotel room. My goodness, it's just outrageous, isn't it? Just shocking. Now, I think that's the picture you were talking about. Yeah, the listening room. How sad yes, look on the map of the rooms, and I mean, can you broadcast? Is it a microphone as well as a speaker system? So you can say, stop doing that or do more of that in room 8 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon in Prague there. The red phone, is that the one that goes through to the boss? That's such a great picture as we see it on the screen there. We've got a Prague listening room with the phrase green salmon on the screen. It's like something from a sort of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy right there, isn't it? Just utter the words, the code word, green salmon. When you shout green salmon, we'll burst in. And the rest, I did enjoy the green salmon. Go, okay, go. Right, and then somebody bursts through the door dressed like this. Put that down, Peter. I don't think you know what you're doing with that. What on earth is going on in that room there? Or is that Prague, or is that your dad's army kind of reenactment weekend on the south coast of the UK somewhere? Who do you think you are? Oh, and so again, is it Prague, or is it Southsea or some? What was it called, that place in Dad's army? Upton on Sea or something like that, wasn't it? There's Pete getting a backie from somebody with a pistol holster and a very fetching chinless motorcycling helmet there. What fun you've had in Prague. Was that before a few beers later on and on the famous bridge and bars of Prague there, Pete? And from his time in Prague to his back garden now, and some lovely pictures of Peter's stalk there. They're back, aren't they? Look at that. He's been stalking. From eavesdropping in Prague to stalking in central Portugal. There he is, with his mating pair there. Who doesn't like a mating pair first thing in the morning? Nice, Pete. Thank you for those. Heather joining us at 9 this morning, hanging out with Heather and addressing just about every angle of moving to Portugal, which she has experienced personally as well. Let's go through your input on the chat. What's occurring to you this morning? What are your insights about life and living this morning? What have you got to tell us? Has the full moon blessed you with any celestial or spiritual insight? See you there, Bobby O'Reilly. And you never know, do you, what people are going to be talking about in the chat? Seems to be avocados this morning. But let's whiz way back to earlier on this morning when James was in with Bon dia Gumpers, Feliz Quinta a todos, como va? And he served us up the very lovely little slide this morning. Dog owners will appreciate this. This is why dogs are happier. Dog and owner are sitting, as sometimes dog and owner do, just taking the world in on a bench in the park by the look of it. The chap there is thinking, he's sat in nature with his dog, but he's thinking about his car and his holiday and his house and money. And the dog is just sat there, probably not thinking, but for the purposes of making this point, he's there in the moment, isn't he? All he's thinking about, if he is thinking, is being there with his beloved owner. And there's nothing like the look of a dog that loves you unconditionally. I'm not going to say what just went through my mind there. I think it would be inappropriate to do so. Mindful moment. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. This is Howard Thurman. Don't ask yourself what the world needs, apart from a doting dog, in my humble estimation. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and go do that. Go on, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Oh, I say. Now, I was listening to a podcast with Rick Rubin on, the music producer. He was saying something very similar. He says, all these things that are peeing you off in your life, you probably don't have to do them. Change it. Do something different. It's like, okay, Rick. Okay. Don't ask yourself then. Thank you. Mindful moment from James. Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and go do it. Go do that, because what the world needs is people who've come alive. Howard Thurman there for you this morning. Thank you very much for that, James. Loving these mindful moments. T-Duck Vacuum, by the way. And so in comes a dad joke, a mindful dad joke. How did the meditation student find inner peace? They mastered, I'll get this right eventually. How did the meditation student find inner peace? They mastered the art of homework. Very good. Gets one of those, but really should get one of these. Has anyone done any tapping since we had Marion on the show? And that, of course, is part of the Spartan FX Chill Out Tuesday that we're going to have every month. Sarah will be with us, showing you how to take the stress out of moving money around. And Marion will be back as well, and other guests talking about how to keep your head together and be stress-free whilst moving as much as possible. We know it's as we'll find out with Heather. It's a stressful business moving to Portugal, no question. Moving from one country to another is a stressful business, but we'll do our best as we try to do here and in the Portugal Club, on the Portugal Club platform, to take the stress out of things by connecting you with the people you need to know and the information you need to know, and a few experts in this matter of minimizing stress We're never going to get rid of stress in our lives, are we? But we can find better and better ways to manage it. Bon dia, James. And maybe we can find more ways of not having it arise in the first place, because that's the really smart move, isn't it? If there are persistent things that keep coming up that could perhaps be dealt with at source, the cause rather than the symptom. How about that? I'm sure we'll be talking in those terms and in that way holistically with Marion on the 4th Tuesday every month, the Chill Out Tuesday with Spartan FX. Bon dia, James, Carl, and all you lovely gumpers from Coach Turner this morning at 22 minutes past 8. It's 8:52, by the way, right now. Carl, and all you lovely gumpers, another training day today. But not that sort of training day. Don't worry, everybody. You're not suddenly back at work. The idea of training days can strike fear. Can be a real heart sink moment, can't it? Unless you're the trainer, of course, who's getting paid a handsome fee for your consultancy that day. If you're a recipient of training in the workplace, if you think about it, all those trainings you did at work, how many of them would you say were useful, and how many of them did you look forward to? This is training day on the track with Coach Turner. Another training day today, but we'll need to be a little careful as my heel didn't much like wearing spikes on Tuesday. My goodness, he wears spikes. So go slow and steady. Slow and steady wins the race. And calm down anyone who got excited with me suggesting that Coach Turner wears spikes. God Squad tip of the day. It is becoming clear, but I can connect you with him if you want me to. It is becoming clear that the research into nutrition is accelerating. I came across a study of studies that were investigating the effects of eating ultra-processed foods. I've got a feeling this might be a no Sherlock bit of research here, that ultra-processed foods might not be very good for you. Let's have a look, shall we? It appears that not only are these linked to obesity, but also a wide range of life-limiting diseases such as cancer, cardiovascular, and coronary issues and diabetes. Well, that's cheered us right up, Coach. The scary statistic for the UK is that 60% of meals are comprised of ultra-processed foods. And no wonder they use the UPFA abbreviation. That makes it sound a whole lot better, doesn't it? I'm having a UPFA for dinner later. Oh, really? Is that a Danish speciality? No, it's ultra-processed food. Fortunately, Portugal is far less hooked on factory food. I love the culture here of people wanting to cook for you from scratch, even with your very competitively priced prato do dia. Fantastic aspect of Portugal. We'll take a look at some better foods to try tomorrow. Thanks, Coach Turner. Well, you told us about your nuts yesterday, didn't you? Your trail mix, which I think is an excellent idea. A bit of trail mix to carry around to take away the hunger pangs and to resist the temptation of the snacks that have been had another way of looking at it is added value, isn't it? Adding value to raw materials that you can eat, ultra processed food. Bon dia, Pinky. It's lovely to have you here, Pinky. Don't know who you are. I don't know if you want to tell us more about yourself. I'm not, no pressure, but it's lovely to hear. It's lovely to see you more often on the screen with us here, and it'd be great to find out more about you. Where are you in the world, and how can we help you? Moving to Portugal. Have you considered joining the Portugal Club yet? The growling bear at the end is priceless. Oh, is that the dessert? It's just a slow motion, or was that someone's stomach? I see what you mean. Should you have a look at that one more time? Apologies if this is making you want to go and eat some beautifully created dessert. What's that? BCD. Ooh. Okay, I need to put some classical music over the top of that. But that was we made Bob wait. Bob, no, don't touch your dessert yet. We need to film you cracking the top, as it were, of your dessert there. So excellent stuff. I think the conversation about I love guacamole and avocado. Pete is not a fan, is he? Pete's worst nightmare probably would be a dish with bacalhau and avocado. And there will be one. There will be a recipe. Bye, Randy is in. See you there, Bobby O'Reilly. Good morning to you. Bye, Randy. How you doing? And tal como as ostras su demasiado frita e insipida. I think he's talking about avocado. He is. Para apreciar or abacate, of course, here in Portugal, if you want to order avocados. And I don't know if you figured out when to eat them. Do you have that experience of, it's a bit tough, it's a bit tough, forget about it. for 2 days, come back, oh, it's gone off. I'll just eat the green bits and cut away the brown bits. I think it's when the little pip stalk bit drops out, they're ideal, aren't they? George Carlin talked about blue foods, apparently, says James, as in there are none, perhaps blue corn being the only exception. There are exceptions that prove the rule, aren't there? And there are some of those blue foods that are, I guess, they don't get picked up by the food industry, do they? Because they don't sell, so therefore you don't see them very often. But yeah, there are some notable exceptions like that blue corn. And before you say it, blueberries are purple. All right, fair enough. Won't say it then. And I developed an allergy to avocado. I miss them so much. Is it because you ate too many, Pinky? Possibly. What is great is that the other half of the bunker is still used to spy on gamblers in the casino. Diane does look a little old in the bike picture. He's so naughty, isn't he? Let's just have a quick look at that picture again. That's never Diane on the front there, is it? No. You're looking very fresh-faced in that picture there, Pete, as well. We'll have Heather join us in just a moment. It's the Hangout with Heather. Thursday today. Questions about any aspect of moving to Portugal, just bung them in the chat, and they will be dealt with by Heather, and I'll do my best to support as well. Douglas is in as well this morning. How are you doing, Douglas? Did I see Paul Richards as well? Douglas hopefully heading back to the UK after delayed, diverted, and cancelled flights. Is that because of the storms going on in the UK? It's been looking is it Isha and then Jocelyn? People have been jostled by Jocelyn, I think. Over there in the UK. Oh, yes, Paul Richards is here. Greetings from a sunny 23 degrees C Algarve. A lot of folks are due to renew their first 2-year visa this year. What difference, if any, will the new regime make? Well, that's a question. I'll star that up for Heather to deal with, because we've got Bob and Viv's video on the YouTube channel. And as soon as you put up a video of how you did something, all the comments come in, don't they? Well, we didn't do it like that. So we'll have a chat about that as well. We do have step-by-step instructions and added commentary from other community members on our Portugal Club platform. I would say they can't be any slower than Seth. That would be Ima, wouldn't it? But to Portuguese bureaucrats, that would be taken as a challenge. Here, hold my beer. I'll see if I can make this even slower. Bon dia all. In fact, give me a beer and I'll see if I can make this any slower. Bon dia all. I'm starting to feel a bit of worry about the big move, but it will all be worth it once there. Now, that, again, is something we'll talk about with Heather. Of course you will, Jackie. I hope this community is of some comfort and assistance to you. A big part, I think, of dealing with the stress of the move is to chop down as many obstacles and blockages as you possibly can. And there will be a little bit of residual stress. It's going to be a stressful thing in some way, I think, or concern. I don't want to be saying you'll definitely be stressed, but it's a good likelihood, isn't there, with such an upheaval that you might feel a little bit of pressure. We're here to help. And I mean that. That's a big we. Us lot, isn't it? Who doesn't like a big wee first thing in the morning? Bon dia, love to all you beautiful gumpers from the OLP. Is the full moon keeping you up over there, OLP? Morning to you. Moving to Portugal doesn't have to be stressful. No drama. Drama a la Americana. Well, yeah, I think it's all relative, isn't it? And I would love to meet the superhuman being who didn't experience any stress moving to Portugal. They might have a very flat line of that particular person. But that may well be my first question to Heather this morning. Is it possible to move to Portugal stress-free? Never asked it from that angle before. Thank you, Mr. S. Bon dia from Sarah. And the trick, look at this. Excellent stuff, Pete. The trick is adjusting to a new pace of life and never mistaking inefficiency for malice. Oh, my goodness. I think Ima should have that inscripted in Latin on their coat of arms. Yeah, that would work well in Latin. And do you know what? Pete probably knows what that is in Latin. Work training days. Always a woman called Joy who wore culottes and had a bob hairstyle in charge. These ladies always had garlic breath too. That's some real granular information there, Doug, of your... What was she teaching you that had you so close up in her, such close proximity to her culottes, hairstyle, and garlic breath? Michael, good morning to you. Really enjoying our conversation about music just recently, and the messages that you've been sending me on WhatsApp as well. 913-590-303. I watched a great documentary on Disney Plus yesterday. It's called The Last Repair Shop. It's so much more than it appears on the surface. I highly recommend it. And isn't it lovely when things are so much more than they appear on the surface? It'll fill your heart. It'll make you smile. And it'll make you wee with excitement. No, I added that one. And maybe even bring a tear or two. If you've got Disney Plus, do yourself a favor and see the film. You'll be happy you did. Nice recommendation. Thank you very much. Carrots were originally blue. James, they were only bred orange to celebrate the Dutch taking over our monarchy. You see the things he knows. Out with my lad later if I survive the COVID and flu jab at the chemist. Is that wise before a boozing weekend by Andy? Can't you delay that till Monday? Bon dia, just saying hello before running off to a meeting. Hey, Pam, and sounds lovely. Sounds lovely. It looks like an absolute stunner of a day. Bon dia from Heather. Oh, yes, Heather Binder joins us. Let's give her a nice big round of applause and bring her onto the screen. Hola, bon dia. Hola,
bon dia. Good morning.
Good, Heather. How's it going?
Hello. Good. Good thing I posted on there, right? You might keep forgetting.
I was in my own little world there, wasn't I, for a while? So forgive me. Good to see you here from the ground, Portugal. The website right there on the screen, bottom left-hand corner. Oh, and in front of you there. There can be no mistake. Oh, and they are the same. That's helpful too. There can be no mistake as to where to find
us. Yes.
Find Heather. No stress, no business. Well, yes, there is that. But take it or leave it. You can be stressed or you can get a little bit of help with the stress. Do you know anyone who had a stressless journey or arrival here in Portugal?
That was not native Portuguese or married to a European or already... a Portuguese passport or I don't think, moving in and of itself is inherently one of the most stressful things people do. So it's sort of impossible, but you can definitely set yourself up for success and do things that prepare you and also obviously get help from people that give you a sense of peace. And I know I had a client recently, a veteran gal actually, and she was just freaking out, you could just get that energy from, we did a consultation call and her anxiety was up here. And it was great because as soon as we agreed to work together and everything, just her energy changed, shifted dramatically on the next call I had with her. And as well as her telling me that, she felt like she had a partner, a friend in the process and could sort of, take it a step down on that level. But I honestly would be concerned if someone had no stress because, we react with stress and sometimes in a good way. And if you're too lackadaisical about it, I think that also could be a concern because even a good relocation visa processor, whatnot, like ourselves and other companies, we can't do everything for you. That's true. A lot of people are don't hire anybody because you have to do all this stuff anyways. Well, you always have to do stuff regardless. Of course, you have to gather data and provide information, et cetera, et cetera. So it requires a little bit of stress. Sometimes I wish clients had a little bit more because
to get motivated.
Yeah. We have some clients that are, too close for comfort for me to their VFS appointments and we're waiting for documents and we're asking for documents.
Okay, so some people are hiring professionals so that they just don't have to worry about anything ever again.
Well, I think a lot of people sometimes I see on the forums and stuff say, don't hire anybody because you have to do all this stuff yourself anyways, which, obviously I can't get your bank statements and, you can't just hire someone to do these things for you unless they have magical powers of attorney and all this kind of thing and online access, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, you do have to do a certain amount of work regardless.
That never occurred to me that somebody might think, I know, I'll just hire someone so that I don't even have to think about it, and they'll just prompt me every now and then when they'll magically do stuff or prompt me when
Well,
I need
I do. That is exactly how we work. Is we do prompt
Right.
people and we do tell them what to do
Yeah.
and what order, and we provide a timeline and an overall picture, and
Yeah.
all the things that make sense, because that's what happens. Is all this information is flooding at people at once, all this opinion and all this misinformation. It's the biggest thing that I personally had found.
Yes.
Was like, well, okay, here's 5 different opinions on how something's supposed to be done. Like, which is it? How do I know who's right? Because I don't know these people. And so a couple things came out of that. One was obviously my assistants and our business, but also the idea of building community and providing people, support systems to be able to exchange information and help one another. Not visa specific necessarily, but more, the living and the other things, because there's so much to a move and there's so much to a successful transition that I feel like most companies just don't deal with. They do the paperwork and then they're done. And so that's always been our approach, is to handle that differently. And we're actually about to launch our new website here very shortly, and we kind of redid our packages and have some new things to offer, including
what does that mean? So a bit more of the coach, so just lifting the bureaucracy off the page, if you like, and some more of a coaching approach.
Some coaching, some definitely community building, support, and really we'll do some webinars. You and I are going to host something where we'll talk more about that when we have a little bit more details and the dates on the calendar. But that'll be upcoming, and it'll be some exclusive things for clients, and then also an open community that will allow people to get on, and anybody, client, not client, whatever, to help create these connections. Because as you know, I host the expat meetup in the Silver Coast once a month, and I have a WhatsApp group as well. And these things have really helped people. I had clients visiting last week when I had my meetup on Tuesday. And I had 2 sets of clients actually came to the meetup from one couple from the DC area that are moving to Lisbon, and we're here to find a place to live. And another couple, I want to say from California, that's right. And they also were here to find a place to live. And both couples found places, which was nice. And anyways, it was awesome because I got to meet them face to face, but I also got to introduce them to all kinds of people. And a couple, the couple from California actually befriended another couple here in town who took them out the next day, which was great. They showed them, Faj, and they showed them parts of the area that I didn't have a chance, we weren't touring, so I didn't have a chance to show them, but that was really lovely. And now they already have real physical people that they've befriended that are going to be neighbors. And I think,
love the sound of that. I love the sound of that. So like a preformed community to come into to address any sort of isolation or loneliness on arrival.
I think it's really a huge start, and it's a huge, I had that by a few people. They weren't local necessarily. I had one local to where I moved, but I'm still friends with these people. They're still part of my outer community. And, that's really what makes a successful transition, is relationships. And that you work on that in all kinds of ways. We work on that. Yes, of course, there's the help with the bureaucracy and everything else, which is obviously part of what we offer and build into our visa packages and so forth. But I think the bigger picture is when people don't have friends, don't have support, they don't have comfort. And of course, then they're homesick, and they're, and it doesn't mean you're not going to be homesick, especially if you left, family and things like that are that you didn't want to leave. I should qualify that. Some people are happy they left
Yes.
family.
Change your Heather, can you help me please? I need to change all my numbers. I need to have an untraceable address. Can you do that? In fact, that's a great package to offer, isn't it? The bunker, the
Disappearing package.
the disappearing package for people who are done with life in the old country and everyone else who lives there. Wow, there is a new product. A new product is born.
That's
You see,
pretty
Mr.
good.
S, this is in the world of Mr. S. It's good to have him here in the conversation today because apparently, once you have your visa, you're all set.
That's
Well,
hilarious. That's the funniest thing I've seen on your show ever.
Good luck, Mr. S. We're here for you, cheeky rascal. And of course, he doesn't need any friends or community. And that's why he's here this morning. This has been a blessing of meeting Louisa and Sidonia and GMP community on arrival. Absolutely. Thank you for that, James. So we got a few questions. This whole thread, we never quite know what we're going to talk about. We know we're going to be talking about Portugal. We're going to be talking about what you do to help people. But we don't always know, do we, which direction it's going to go in, which I love. And I know our conversations can be quite random here, including introducing you to a pizzeria in Caldas. I've got a challenge for you. I don't think you'll have found this because not many people have. So we'll come back to that. But I think you wanted to add something there.
Me? Oh,
Yeah,
no, I'm good.
our
I
random conversation.
I can stay like on a particular topic if you
No,
really
I've
want
never
me
seen
to.
that. I've never seen that. It's not a challenge. It's not a challenge, by the way. One of the early questions to come in this morning was from Paul. Good to see you here, Paul. Sunny in the Algarve at 23 degrees. How fantastic this morning. And by the way, yes, there is a lovely full moon for the OLP, Oregonians loving Portugal. And thank you, Michael, for sending in your beautiful pictures from Miranda de Corvo this morning. So I will share those in a little while. Paul's asking, a lot of folks are due to renew their second year visa this year. What difference, if any, will the new regime make? And that's good. It is on. I mean, we talked about this, didn't we, on Tuesday night? And Bob and Viv went through that process. Now, can I just quick point of order that came up with that?
Yes.
And the nomenclature, the vocabulary around it. The D7 is actually the 4-month visa, is it not? And then everything after that is residency renewal, not D7 renewal. Is that correct?
You don't renew a D7 visa.
Yeah, okay.
The visas are just, a one-time 120-day right to enter Portugal in order to establish residency. What's the point of the D7? Establishing residency. So the 2-year renewal is somebody who already established residency by attending their first in-country appointment successfully, getting a residency card, and then 2 years later, it's up for renewal.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, and if you're ready for me to answer this question.
Yeah, absolutely.
So first, props to Bob and Viv, because without them, I wouldn't have made an appointment last night. But I was actually, so my own visa, or residency card, I should say, not visa, just said that. My own residency card, I renewed last June-ish or something like that. So I'm going on 2.5 years here. So mine is renewed, and I was able to do that electronically, just submitting it online. I was one of the last, few that got through the CEF system that way. But my dad's expired in December, and my now husband, no longer fiance, I'll try to get that right.
Are you getting that right there?
Yeah, my husband's also renews in like June. So anyway, so that has been a question of mine, and I've had some clients, and really friends more than clients, because I don't, most of my clients are, came here sooner than that, so they aren't there yet. Anyways, I have an appointment for my dad on February 5th. So we will be going to Caldas and doing his renewal appointment there then, and we'll see how that goes. But the thought, and one thing that Bob and Viv had said in their video, was that you had to have a NIS in order to sign up for the appointment. And I actually found that not to be the case. Yeah. I was able to use just my dad's NIF last night to sign up for an appointment for him. So that was good news.
Yeah, somebody else said that, because we've got it on the Portugal Club timeline. we've got the video of Bob and Viv stepping through it, which is really helpful, but because it gives people a starting point.
Actually, it literally gave me directions, to be fair.
And then others have joined the conversation since and said, well, I didn't need to do that first step, because that was a big breakthrough for Bob and Viv, wasn't it? When they realized within just enough time that they needed a NIST number to log in, but people are finding actually you don't do that necessarily, do you, on the Seeker site? You don't necessarily have to have an NISS number.
No, you don't need a NIST number unless you're working in Portugal. Okay. And, if you're working in Portugal, you open activity, you open tax activity, then that's a whole thing. And yes, you can use a NIST number, but you don't log in. You basically go to that site, follow those instructions, and you, in essence, create an account that way. Yeah. And book that appointment. So the question I have, which I don't know if anyone's been through the in-country residency renewal appointment yet, but I'm wondering, what all we need to bring and be prepared with. So that's one thing we're going to be researching starting today, as far as figuring out what you need. Because for the online renewal, I didn't need anything.
Yeah, and it should be pointed out, shouldn't it, that Bob and Viv were very, very clear to point this out. This was how it was yesterday at 2:30. It might have changed since then.
Right.
So that's
100%. Yeah.
This is the aspect that people need to be aware of as well, is it can change. As soon as people think they've nailed it, and you're hearing of all sorts of hacks and downright corruption, actually, people inside the system selling appointments to people who are buying them and then selling them on to other people. This is where it's at, because the desperation is so great. All of that is subject to change at any minute. So, pick up where you can in the best possible way, like Bob and Viv's video, for example, work with Heather, but be aware also that things might change at any moment. The other thing that came up was the €20 per month thing, wasn't it? That we should.
Well, that's to do with the NIST, and there is a minimum required contribution to Social Security, but I believe that is specific if you have activity open. If you have a NIST, you don't have activity open, you're not earning any credit towards Social Security here, basically. And therefore you don't need to make a contribution. That's the latest and greatest that I understand, but I have not confirmed that with an accountant or such. But that makes sense, because I know, and you do have 1 year grace period if you do. I know I opened activity owning the Airbnb and that, and my husband opened activity as well. But we are on that grace period still before we have to pay at least a minimum. And then you'll pay more than that depending on how your receipts, basically. Yep.
Great. Okay. And so, and as I said on Tuesday night, the 3 key abbreviations are NIF, which is your contribuent number for making your tax.
I can't say payment. That word. How do you contribute?
Contribuent.
Contribuent.
As in Buenos Aires.
That's right up there with, cow.
Caballero, yeah. And so there's the NIF, the NIS that we were just talking about for Social Security, and the SNS, not to be confused with Social Security. SNS number is your UTENT, also known as the
UTENT health number, numero. Yeah, exactly.
If you you can have a 3-card trick, as it were, or a full house of those. If you're working and contributing Social Security payments, everyone needs a NIF number, by the way, to do anything meaningful and by meaningful I mean financial in Portugal, and to engage with the health system.
To breathe in Portugal, you need
a close second, probably in order of importance, NIF, SNS, and NIS, right? With those abbreviations there.
Yeah, but it's also important to point out that you need, if you're still in another country, don't worry about the SNS and the NIS, because those are not relevant to you for a long time. Yeah. You can't even, you can't even begin to think. And I think that's an important point, because I remember thinking about all this visa stuff and then starting to think about driver's license and baggage certificate and all these other things. Now, driver's license, baggage certificate, you do want to think about relatively early on, but things like SNS and Junta de Freguesia and Atestado de Residencia and blah, you
That
don't even,
does stress people out, doesn't it? Because you go onto the
well, it
social
does.
media forums and you hear utent, what's that? Oh, what do I need now? And there'll be something else and something atestado, and that's the thing, isn't it? And what came to mind there, Heather, is the difference between a muesli and an Airfix model or an IKEA plan. There is the muesli, which is every single thing you're going to need to move to Portugal, all in one packet. And
That's
there's nuts, raisins, bits of granola, and it's all there in one bag. And it's like, how do you sort this out? And then you get an Airfix model or IKEA instructions, and it's like it starts at picture number 1. What's the first thing you need?
right.
Then you stick that to the second bit, and you stick that to the third bit, and you bring bits 1, 2, and 3 together with 4, 5, and 6. And you need a sequence, don't you? And you need space. You need to separate the muesli and see which bits you need. You need all the bits, but you need to get space between the bits, and you need to get time or a timeline for those bits as well.
Absolutely. We actually provide that for free. We're going to be doing the monthly webinar we do. We're going to do the first half hour is going to be open to anybody. And it's going to be a presentation, which is good for DIY people and good for people that just want to, learn a little bit or get the overview, regardless of if they're DIY or not.
Very good.
And it helps break that down a bit. But I feel like it's very, very overwhelming to throw a whole bag of everything at people at once. Music. And that's, but I do show people like a timeline. Yeah. But at the same time, I trigger them, we trigger them as we need things, as we're going through the process. So it's not just, here's 40 things at once, ideally. Well,
humans can't cope. I mean, that is a recipe for stress. Let's face it. We can only manage a certain amount of plates spinning at any given time. Right. On this matter of stress, then, bon dia all, I'm starting to feel a bit of worry about the big move, as Jackie said earlier on, but it'll be worth it once there. And from another angle, this is lovely, Gary. Well, not lovely for you, but it's a very interesting way of looking at it. It's the stress, bon dia, I hope you're all well. It's the stress of not being able to move to Portugal. I hadn't thought about it from that angle. So there are possible potential stresses involved in the process and being here. And then there's the other one, and I've communicated with a few people in this sort of condition who are getting worried that they're never going to make it in some way. So by way of a little bit of encouragement and to keep your pilot light lit when it comes to Portugal, from João de Norte this morning down in the south. Look at that, some cherry blossom.
Oh, nice.
That you can look forward to seeing in the south. He's in the Algarve at the moment. And in the central today from Michael, thank you very much. What a beautiful scene in Miranda de Corvo. Look at that. That was the full moon. When was that, Michael? Let me just have a look. The full moon over Miranda de Corvo this morning. So isn't that beautiful? Out and about, presumably, and catching the full moon before it goes to a sliver. Again, thank you, João de Norte, and to Michael for that. Let's go back to more comments in the chat about moving to Portugal and the many aspects of doing so, most of which Heather has dealt with in some way, either personally or with clients, and has made all the mistakes, as you said on Tuesday. Because there weren't people around to help you, were there, in the way that you help other people? You've made most mistakes it's possible to make, it would seem.
I was definitely my own guinea pig in a lot of ways. I did hire a professional to help me process how to submit and so forth, because I had a complicated situation. And I realized that I was smart enough to hire someone to help me muddle through all the things. And it's really the truth. My clients are like the most capable, highly intelligent, amazing freaking people. Like, seriously, I've had like 4 or 5 attorney clients now. Just people that can do this. Okay. But they're smart enough to know that there's a time and place. And I think that those are key points. And at the same time, hiring someone also helped me realize the shortcomings of hiring someone, because they simply focused on just the submission paperwork, and that was it. I didn't learn anything about phones. I didn't learn that my Google Voice was going to stop after 6 months. I didn't learn how to set up contracts or get things negotiated right. And I did some of that myself, which I did make some mistakes. I didn't, I didn't know that solar here means something really different than what it means to us in the United States. And it's a joke, the way that it's sold here. If anybody wants to buy 3 solar panels, let me know, because they're worthless on my roof.
Actually,
Well,
yes,
they're not worthless unless you buy the battery
I
to
know.
store it.
I have to make a note of that. I know somebody who I might be able to connect you with. Pardon the pun. And your solar panels there.
Well, yeah, because you can spend more money, but
Yeah.
without spending more money, they're useless. So
They're just ornaments. Okay, they just make you look good. So if anybody wants, if you don't want the actual electricity but want to look great, like you're making a contribution to sustainable energy, there are
no,
3.
no. They're not good for electricity. That's the problem. They only need the freaking water boiler thing.
Okay, well, so they're not. They're just panels. They're not solar panels. for instance.
They're solar panels. They're not hooked up to the electricity. They don't counteract my electricity bill, which is what
Oh, okay.
I thought solar panels were for. And on top of it, there's no battery. So they only work when the freaking sun is out to heat the hot water.
You've got no system to connect it to your grid inside. Okay. Yeah.
I'm a night owl, okay, and I like nighttime showers. So if I take a nighttime shower, guess what?
It's a cold one. Yeah. Okay.
Well, no, it'll be warm, but I have to wait like 10 minutes for it to actually get warm and get to my shower. I have to wait a while. And but the main point was, why spend 750 euro? I was like, well, that's cheap. Solar's cheap in Portugal. Yeah, it's cheap because you get what you pay for.
It's true. Anywhere in the world, Portugal included. Okay, well, we might be able to move your solar panels on for you. Mr. S, who's saying leaving family forever? That's too radical and, of course, stressful. I think you got the wrong end of the stick there. We were having we're making the point, actually, there, Mr. S, or Heather was, that some people do want to just leave everything behind them, don't they? And it's a very positive thing for some people. And who are we to judge?
They don't have much to leave. Like, I only have a couple cousins, and my brother lives in Canada. And my family's here. I believe in building family. And I don't mean I have family here. I mean, I'm building relationships with people that are family, chosen family.
Yeah. And some people do want to just say goodbye to their family. They might not get on with their family, or anyone else in their neighborhood. They just want to go. And who am I to judge that? With a big family, you won't be able to follow the tradition of splitting your property 38 different ways and creating rifts and squabbles for the last century. You see, there is an upside to that. Successful and enjoyable train journey yesterday with 2 transfers, arrived at 6 in the evening. So I hope you're having a lovely time down there at João do Norte. Nice. And okay, so we dealt with James's question about I'm there. Yes, February target. The thing about the February target is I have not said which year that February is going to be in. Very good, Pete. And Bom dia alegria from Antonio Barbosa. Bom dia alegria, Feliz Quinta-feira. Thank you. Good morning to you, the man in the Minho. Documentation is listed at the IMA site. Thank you for that, James, as well. Feedback.
Yes.
You need to spell Nif and Nis on air. It sounds the same to me, at least. Oh, okay. Maybe he hasn't got his SNS number, so he could go and have a hearing check. NIF, then I'll call it contribent, and NIS social security number. Thank you for that point.
Well, that is a good point, because when you go to check out at anywhere, they don't say what's your NIF.
They don't.
They
and
say what's your
Portuguese
contribute
people,
or fiscal, whatever. And you, that's a really good point, because you don't know what the heck they're asking you. When you first buy stuff here, like when you're visiting or whatever, you're like, Sacco, like, oh, they're asking me for a bag. Oh, okay. And then, they're asking me my NIF number. Okay. Well, if I knew those things up front, it would have actually made learning that Portuguese a lot easier, because for the longest time I was like, what are they asking me? And I'm so funny, because I have this tendency, I don't know if other people have this, it'd be interesting to find out. When people speak to me in a foreign language and I don't know what they're saying, I have this really bad tendency to just go, yes, see. And like, I'm just saying yes to all this stuff. And I don't have any clue what they're asking me.
So if you've ever stood behind Heather in the queue at Continent,
I'm
she's the
getting
one
lots
with
of bags.
12 bags, and the patient teller there waiting for her NIF number to be uttered while she's just nodding.
Well, I've been here
yeah.
2.5 years. I mean, I've learned, but
Back in the
I do remember those moments of like, just panic. Now I have moments of like, wow, I knew what she asked me, or
Yeah.
I'm translating for the table or whatever.
Well, let's help people with
Translating's
that. For those newbies
little.
or pre-newbies, the first one will be Precision Saco, which will be, do you want a bag? If I mean, after about a year in Portugal, you'll probably have 32 bags for life, which you'll have left at home anyway. So you'll probably say, yes, I need a bag. And then it will be a contribuent. You'll hear the word contribuent in a question, which will be, do you want to give your NIF number? And to avoid stress, you might want to write it down if you do want to get into the habit. I mean, for me, it was a sort of badge of honor to be asked. I didn't realize the full implications and how much I would grow to hate the NIF number. But at the time, it was like, yeah, I'll give you my NIF. And you kind of say it in Portuguese, or you hold it out on a piece of paper with the number on there. So you might want to write it down, because that's the second of 3 questions. Or the third one, and it might not be in that order, will be Cartão Intermarché or Cartão Continent. They'll be asking you for the loyalty card of the store as well, won't they?
I have
What's
a tip.
that?
This is the back of my cell phone.
Yeah.
This is my family's NIF numbers.
Oh, so
I'm a label maker.
Okay, yeah, you can appropriate to the right member of the family.
Well, you can. Okay, so I asked my husband the other day. He hasn't been here as long as me, but he's still been here like a year and a half, so like a long time. Hey, Kevin, what's your NIF number? He doesn't know. Now, for anyone who's lived here a while, that's kind of hilarious, because you're like, how do you not know? Now, he's on the autism spectrum, to be fair. And but he doesn't know. So in other words, like, I do all the things. And I am giving his NIF number a lot. My dad is elderly. I'm giving his number a lot to do certain things and whatnot. And you can do that when you check out or whatever. You can give different family members numbers to kind of spread those receipts around, or for tax purposes if it helps you, etc. So, but I think it's a good tip to just actually have that written down somewhere really handy. I don't have my NIF number on there because I know it.
I know it now, and as James is saying, yeah, you learn it like so many things in Portugal.
Or you don't, like my husband.
Or you don't yes, like hubby there. The interesting thing to ask you, of course, is why people are giving their NIF number. Why are people being asked? And it's for tax deductions, isn't it? There are allowances on a whole range of headings: groceries, health, going to the mechanic, going to the hairdresser, going to the vet, and there's certain allowances. So you give you say, yes, I want to put my number against that, and you have to validate it to make it meaningful. You have to validate it on the Finances portal subsequently, so you get those allowances. And in relation to that, João de Norte is saying here, interesting info from my tax attorney, that those expense deductions you give for your NIF there, for your groceries, health, etc., are ineligible if you're also filing under NHR. It's either or, which is. Do you want to add anything to that, Heather?
He said that the other night, and I haven't verified whether that's true or not. But at the same time, you have to understand, just because you file for NHR doesn't mean that your income falls under NHR. So you might have the election, but it's an election. It doesn't mean your income qualifies. So the recommendation is going to be to give your NIF, if you don't know that, whether this is true or not, because if it turns out your income does not fall under NHR, then those deductions could be helpful to you. But they're only helpful like a pretty small amount, realistically. But the big reason I use my NIF is really like Leroy Merlin, and which is like your Home Depot, stuff like that, because it ties your receipt to who you are. And so it makes it a lot easier if you go to any of these stores, if you have any sort of issue with a product you bought or return or, things like that. If you have your NIF or you used your NIF, Radio Popular, Wharton, anything like that, always use your NIF, because that's really going to come in handy when it comes time to trying to find that purchase or having any sort of concern or issue with that purchase. So
You
think of
make
it
a
as
good
like
point.
a receipt finder.
Yeah,
I would
good
say
point.
regardless of the NHR implication.
And you stand to win a car or other prizes as well.
There are prizes. Yeah, there are
The
prizes, I guess.
government have incentivized it, so somebody gets picked. I think you can be on a newsletter, which I do get from time to time. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it, but the Portuguese government encouraging people. And it's funny, isn't it, when you are in the supermarket and the cashiers have to ask everyone, I think, probably by law. And you'll see how different people from different parts of Portuguese society respond to that question. See, there's the old guy with the roll of cash now. I think he's not having any of it. It doesn't even want to stand the chance of winning a car or something in the prize draw. But you make a good point there. It does make your purchases more traceable and trackable from the point of view of guarantees and so on in shops. So that's a very good point there. And by the way, if like me, you've gone to order a gas bottle in a very kind of a backstreet sort of shop where everyone's speaking Portuguese, as you might imagine in Portugal, and when you say apostle, follow English, there'll be no. And they're trying to find you on their system. So it's an interesting example to use the gas bottle, because they need to know your address so they can deliver your new gas bottle to it. And how are they going to find you on the system? And so they'll ask your name, and you'll say, "Oh, Carl Munson." So they're like, "Carl Munson," and it said,
well, that's better than me. They don't go Eater Beander.
Eater Beander. and obviously, they're not going to find you on the database.
No, I never give.
Beander.
Yeah, I try not to give my name. It's just
the
hard.
number, the NIF number is really good for being found on a company database.
Yes,
so you say,
absolutely.
Pode ser contribuinte. And I say, see, and they give you, and if you've remembered your number, if you've got it on your phone like Heather has, they can tap it into their system. Eater Beander. Yeah.
It is always funny when they pull my name up, or like CTT or any of them, because they're like, they try with my name.
Beander,
I try with Portuguese, so I totally understand. But it's a little bit of payback, I feel like, because it's hard to say, isn't it?
You keep enjoying that. With the current IMT requirements for seniors, I highly recommend getting your US documentation taken care of before you move, but not more than 6 months prior. Thank you for that tip there. Do you help people with driving licenses, Heather?
We do. Our visa clients, we help with I kind of look at it like the first couple of years, like basically all the things to get you established is very much a part of our packages, which includes driver's license exchange and getting that stuff squared away, which sounds like not a big deal, but it's a real pain in the butt, and it's super confusing, especially coming out of certain countries, like the US is one of them. And it's tons of fun, the whole driver's license thing.
Joao from Paul, when you're filing your IRS form, you have the option of not using your NHR, but it still counts part of your 10 years. So again, you get some proper advice off your financial accountant with that to help you make the right decisions. Antonio, a very good point from Antonio, talking about whether to use professionals or not. Oh, barato sai caro. Do you know what that means? A lovely Portuguese saying.
Oh, barato sai caro.
Yeah.
No.
Cheap is expensive. That means.
Barato. Yes, I remember learning. This is funny too. Barato. I had some gate guys that were helping me with my gate here, and I was enlisting them to help me learn some Portuguese. And they told me that barato was sheep. Okay. Yeah. Sheep.
Oh, sheep and not cheap.
Sheep. Oh, so then later that day or the next day, whatever, I was talking to a friend, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I learned a new word, barato. And I'm like, sheep. Yeah. Anyways, it took a little while to figure out barato is cheap. And they were saying sheep because that's how they were pronouncing cheap. Yeah. And yes. And sorry, what was the rest of that?
cockroach as well, I think, Barata.
Yes, but right.
Cheap is expensive. Antonio's saying, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire an amateur, or even worse, try doing it yourself. Thank you for that, Antonio. Thank you, Paul, for your information for Joao there. Mr. S still with us. I think we're probably stressing Mr. S out a little bit now. Stress about what? There is a yacht club in Cascais for $500 a year. What's stressful about that? I've heard owning boats.
That sounds cheap.
It is very cheap, and you get access. This is something that Jackie from Expats Portugal was talking about. She wanted to be a member of a yacht club in the US, which was really expensive, like many multiples of that. But by joining the Cascais Yacht Club, you get reciprocal membership in the club she couldn't get into that was too expensive to join.
Oh, how funny is that?
That's great for people who are into sailing. Although that's quite stressful, isn't it? The amount of money you have to spend looking after your boat. It's loosely called an investment, isn't it? Correct. That's what Maya Teddy said on the NHR. It's your choice to use the NHR or not, whatever is most advantageous. However, it's not right to use both. Cheers, John, for that. Much appreciated. Solar heating for water, not for electricity. Going back to your panels. Passive solar heating for water, not electricity. Thank you, gentlemen, for that. Maybe that's James. Maybe that's something for Mama Bear there. Hiring a pro saves on a huge amount of stress, worth every penny. Thanks, Jackie. Numero de contribuente, you learn it like so many other things. Oh, that was Mr. S and not James. Thanks for that. Slug. A few of my other boater mates got solar water systems, and they reckon they are great. I've been off grid many years now, so moving to a house in Portugal is going to be weird. Yes, it's not going to be bobbing up and down like your canal boat from time to time, or wobbling. Although some Portuguese houses do wobble, it has to be said. Always give your NIF if it seems like not worth it, but if ever you need to produce invoices, there you go, for the same reasons you gave there, Heather, against capital gains. NIF, your NIF must be on it. And by the way, if you have an invoice with your NIF on, the names and addresses need to match up at times as well. So be as thorough as you can be. With the paperwork. Your NIF number is your biometric card, which is on your biometric card, which you should carry at all times. Nice one, Paul. NIF stands for Número Identificação Fiscal, otherwise known as Número Contribuinte. And that's why the Portuguese laugh at us when we say NIF number, because you're saying number twice. It's like saying, what is it, with the cash machine?
Number.
Yeah.
It's ATM, automatic.
Teller machine, that's right. The ATM machine. You don't have to say machine twice. You don't have to say number twice, otherwise known as Número Contribuinte. It was the number that the government knew that you were contributing to the tax system and how much. And NIF for an annual prize. There you go. NIF for a prize. A rare incentive, very punitive motivation to register your spending with the government, and statistically virtually no chance of winning. Oh, thank you, James. That's really peed on my chips. That has. As a business, you are issued an NIPC, Número Identificação de Pessoa Coletiva. Thank you for that. Of course, yeah, businesses have NIF numbers as well. Have NIFs as well. I'm chic, lol, says Antonio. And be careful with sheet and beach here in Portugal. Cheap like the budgie. Thank you. That will help you remember it, won't it? And very true. Ladies can also get annoyed when you're simply explaining which corner you're going around. Okay, some more funny vocabulary there from Pete, which we could turn into a meme at some point, I'm sure, Pete. And we'll email you today. Well, please do, Jackie. Looking forward to hearing from you. Right, what else have we got? Only got 15 minutes left here, hanging out with Heather on a Thursday from Boots on the Ground, Portugal. I think you did want to say a little bit more about community building, didn't you? And I want to show you a restaurant I don't think you've been to in Caldas.
Okay, sounds good. I just, I was talking to one of my coworkers yesterday, and we were talking about the expat meetup and, different things that we do. And the current expat meetup was great. We had about 25 people at this last one, which was wonderful. And it was a lot of fun. Great for visitors to get a taste of Caldas and so forth. But it is more of an extroverted type of event, right? Where it's like hi, here's people you don't know, talk, right? And
Nightmare for some people, right?
well, and believe it or not, okay, I'm going to let you guess. Am I an introvert, an extrovert, or an ambivert?
I'm going to go
Carl,
with
what do you think?
the fact that you even mention the word ambivert suggests to me you might be one.
Yeah, I'm that person that's sitting there during the day going, oh gosh, I have a meetup tonight. I just want to stay in. It's cold out. Like, I don't want to, I got to do my hair
Uh,
and like,
uh,
and then I'm like, crap, I'm hosting it. Like, I have to show up.
Excellent. Is that
But
what an
then
ambivert? Is that what ambivert means?
well, what I go and I have a fabulous time.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm someone who may appear like an extrovert, but I'm very much an ambivert, as is my husband. And so what that means is we're very content and happy to, be homebodies in a lot of ways as well. And it doesn't always mean homebody, but you don't need a large social, group all the time, or even things like the festas with huge crowds or tons of people and like that kind of stuff. A lot of that does not appeal personally to me. I want to go to fireworks to San Martino on New Year's Eve sometime, but I want to stay at the Storyteller, beautiful hotel, by the way,
Yes.
Storyteller's Palace, because then I can enjoy my room and I don't have to deal with parking and I don't have to deal with crowds if I don't want. I'll just have a beautiful view to the beach and, I can go out, enjoy the fireworks and then come back in and whatnot. And go to the Gatsby and have drinks and have a good time. So that's more my speed. And I really prefer and like smaller groups. I like to hang out with people. I like a one-on-one, two-on-two, smaller sort of settings. So my point in that and bringing that up is not only explain what it is, but also to let people know that when I'm talking about building community, I'm talking about building friendships and so forth. It's not just for extroverted people, and you're not, you can be a lurker. That's okay. Like you can be subtle and low key and involved in this stuff. And we're not going to out you and force you to be someone you're not.
I don't do that at my meetups. I want
Right.
people to come who are making the effort you speak about. Because they on one level they know they need to in a way to reach
Absolutely.
out, but are not extroverted and actually might find the process a little bit awkward. So I don't do name badges. I don't give people exercises. The closest I've come to that was the first time we were at Storytellers. I asked everybody for a fact about themselves, and I read it out in the room. And I said, "Look, there are people here who've been held up at gunpoint in the Kalahari Desert. There's someone who's flown a plane, and there were people who've done all sorts of amazing things. There's somebody who had a huge tortoise.
That was me.
On the list, that's right. And
175 pounds.
Yes, I should never forget you and your big tortoise.
And
people could start a conversation on that basis and go up to someone and say, "Are you the person who was held up at gunpoint in the Kalahari Desert?" But no enforced networking. We just want to have a nice time, don't we? And have the option to chat and see what happens. And I think you've got the right formula there.
Yeah, there's a chillness, but you're allowing for people to connect. And also when you're dealing with couples and things, you have people, there's usually like the doer, and then there's kind of the partner who's whatever, the dreamer, the artist, or the doer of other things or whatever. It's rare that you get like a couple that's both really, really like the doers. I usually am dealing with a kind of a primary person that's doing things. And so, it's just important to work with people where they're at, how they're at, how they are, and respect that. And I just wanted to make that point because I think there's more lurkers out there. Lurkers. It sounds so horrible. We need a better word for that. There's more lurkers than anything, I think.
Yeah, and they're waiting for the right opportunity, aren't they? Or something that sounds attractive to go to.
Yeah, or I don't even know if they want an opportunity. But at the same time, they also need to, and they know they need to, like you said, like establish relationships. They need to make friends. They need to, to some extent, at some level, in order to be happy. I know my husband, he got here, he went to the local gaming store. He was like, do you play this game there? And the owner was like, no. And he's like, okay, I'm going to start up a game. Can we start up a game like Thursday nights and blah, blah, blah. He runs 2 different great games there now. He does like a D&D game and another game called Battletech. And all his friends are Portuguese. All his friends are like local Portuguese.
So you don't have to pinch your nose and go along to a meetup that you don't like, or a format you don't like. There are other ways of doing this, and perhaps we'll talk about those in the future, about starting your own meetup. If you don't like the ones that are available or the people who go to them, you could start your own thing, and I'd be very happy to publicize that here.
I think you have to build your own community, however and wherever that is. Yeah. And it doesn't mean build, it means find. But here's an idea. Like we have pugs, right? We love pugs. And we used to go to a pug meetup in Arizona, and it was the coolest thing. And you'd be in a park and there was 30 pugs and all these people that were like, fellow pug freaks and whatnot. And it was super.
Got a special name, a pug up or a pug.
It was a pug meetup, and we've talked about doing, but here you'd almost have to make it like Frenchies and Pugs or Smushy Faces, which is fine because we love all those dogs.
I could go
Smushy Face, yeah. Okay. And or just maybe dogs of a certain size, that sort of thing. But that was cool, and I have lasting friendships that are people, and I actually, I did real estate as my background in the U.S. I sold several houses to people that I met through the pug meetup. I used to do professional pet sitting on Rover, like on the side, just for fun, really. And same thing. I sold houses. I built community. I have lasting relationships with those people. Some of them have visited Portugal. So you can build relationships and community in all different ways and aspects. And I think that's really important for people to realize, and to get creative with your thinking.
Very good. Apparently you were misheard. Not an Amber Heard, but an ambivert there. Introversion, extroversion is a continuum. So ambivert would appear near 5 on the scale. Maybe it's the third dimension of this spectrum, isn't it? Introversion, extroversion has always been seen as a linear sort of polar thing almost. Maybe it's the third dimension, because as you were describing there, Heather, it's like, there are times where you just really are very introverted and don't feel like it. But once you're there, you're highly extroverted, possibly. Sounds like you might be a 7, though, if you had to be judged in this way. There are many misconceptions about the characteristics of introversion. I'm sure there are, because introverts are never there to stand their ground and make a case. Some introverts can and do enjoy energetic human connection. Well, then we need solo time to recharge after. Generally, smaller, more intimate gatherings with familiar people, very large groups versus large groups of strangers. Now, a venue for such a thing, and my challenge to you, Heather, in our last few minutes, is maybe this would be a fabulous venue. Do you recognize this establishment? It's in
yes, I think so. My new glasses. I know I need another pair of glasses.
Have you been to Dona Branco?
I have been there once. Yes, I sat in the outside, which was super adorable. Yeah. And yes, I have been there.
Okay, so I've not managed to stump you and find you a place you haven't been to in Caldash, which in many ways.
Have you been? No, hold on.
No, but I met the owner yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And I found out that Dona Branca means she was like a gangster lady who ran the first Ponzi scheme in Portugal. Dona Branca, also a euphemism for cocaine. But on this occasion, it is the name of a beautiful establishment, a pizzeria. I could eat that right now.
Oh, that is sauce. Yay. Yeah, that was my issue. It was delicious, but I ordered something that didn't actually have sauce, and I'm kind of a sauce person. But that's good to see they have sauce. It was very good, though. Yeah, it's really cute outside.
Yeah.
And yes,
Beautiful. And he's just opened a new bar. Tiago, the owner, has opened a new bar in there. And he said, I'm not going to show you the photos. It's fabulous. You've got to come and see it for yourself. So we will at some point, and maybe we can have a Caldash meetup.
that I was going to say that actually would be an awesome place for a meetup in the nicer time of year, because they have a great outside and that. So
Well, they show
yeah, we'll
movies
keep
as
that in
well.
mind.
Do you know that, Heather? They show
They
movies.
show movies. Oh,
Yeah.
I think I heard something about that, but
They've
that's
got
cool.
open air cinema in there as well.
Yes.
There you go. Commending
Nice.
Dona Branca to you in Caldas Terrena. And I thought we might have a little look at a property in Barcelos, because this is an unusual one. You might have found this a fabulous listing, should it have been in the United States when you were in that profession. Oh, Erica K is here. Good morning, Erica. Local gaming store? ?
Yes, it's called Infinite Roll, and just look it up. Infinite Roll. It's in Caldish, and a nice guy, Alphonse, owns it. And yeah, check it out.
And there are lots across the country, aren't there? Most towns have got a gaming store of some sort.
Yes, this is Caldish Silverania, so Silver Coast area for gaming. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's gaming stores everywhere.
Yeah, there are. I mean, you know, ranging from the CEX, which is where you can buy secondhand games and meet other people interested in the games.
The what? Wait, what did you call that?
CEX, which is where you can buy. You know, people trade in hardware and software, and you can meet people in there as well as be buying the hardware and software. And they are in the big towns. My eldest.
So that's a store. Okay.
Yeah, name of a store, CEX. It's in a lot of the shopping malls. Okay. Let's have a look then at this wonderful listing from Vitor Costa. And it came to my attention, and I thought it was fabulous because it's like that from the outside. It's a very modern looking place up in Barcelos, which gives me a chance to finish the show with the Barcelos cockerel story.
Nice view. Look at that.
That's a golf range inside.
Oh, that's one of those. Yes. I had a client in the US that sold those. Yes. Okay.
Really. So you can practice your swing and putting whilst looking at that fantastic picture view across the whole of Barcelos there. So if I take that off the screen, you'll be able to see the listing there. Vitor Costa. Get all of that for $795 up in Barcelos, a luxury. It says V5. Is a V5 the same as a T5?
I think that it's a mistype. I think that would be T5.
Okay, all right. Well, there it is. And if I go from there over to the Portugal Club, and I can tell you the story of the Barcelos cockerel, which has been posted up there by Antonio Barbosa. So it's nice, I think, to have a little bit of a look at a Portuguese legend and myth and story, a bit of a cultural insight. So let's do that now and finish the show. Thanks, Heather, for being here with us today. Would you like to sit comfortably and listen to the story of the rooster?
Of course.
Excellent. Okay, well, let me just bring it up onto the screen for you in these last few minutes. And you can see this for yourself. If you're a member of the Portugal Club at gmpvip.com, this is what is up there, carefully curated. Antonio does a lot for us over there, and this is one of his contributions. The legend of the Rooster of Barcelos. The legend of the Rooster of Barcelos narrates the miraculous intervention of a dead rooster in proving the innocence of a wrongly accused man. And this is the rooster you see as the icon, the symbol of Portugal on tea towels, fridge magnets, and mugs, and the Good Morning Portugal show. It is associated with a 17th century monument that is part of the collection of the Archaeological Museum located in the Passo de Conche de Barcelos. One day, the inhabitants of Barcelos were alarmed by a crime of which the criminal who had committed it had not yet been discovered. One day, a Galician appeared and became a suspect. It was obviously dangerous being a Galician and walking through Barcelos in those days. The authorities decided to arrest him despite his oaths of innocence, as he was just passing through on a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela in fulfillment of a promise. He had an alibi. Sentenced to death on the gallows, however, the man was asked to be taken before the judge who had sentenced him. Once authorization was granted, they took him to the magistrate's residence, who was at that moment feasting with some friends. The Galician once again asserted his innocence and, faced with the incredulity of those present, he pointed to a roasted rooster that was on the table and exclaimed, "It's as true that I'm innocent as it is for this rooster to crow when they hang me." The judge pushed the plate aside and ignored the plea, but as the pilgrim was being hanged, the roast rooster stood up on the table and crowed. Understanding his mistake, the judge rushed to the gallows and discovered that the Galician had been saved thanks to a poorly tied knot. Yes, I wonder who was behind that technology. The man was immediately released and sent in peace. The case was considered closed, and after some time, the Rooster of Barcelos legend began. A few years later, the Galician would have returned to Barcelos to sculpt the Cruzeiro do Senhor do Galo in praise of the Virgin Mary and Santiago Mayor, a monument found in the Archaeological Museum of Barcelos. Did you know that, Heather?
No, did not.
There we
Whenever
go.
you can learn more about the rooster, it's always a good thing.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, well, let's just finish then with your special offer that is on the show slide today. You are offering for the month of February, right? Or here until the end of February, perhaps? Tell us about that.
Yeah, through the end of February, we offer a free consult all the time. So 30 minutes if you want to chat and find out anything or just get to know us a little bit. And then $100 off any Visa purchase, a Visa package purchase through the end of the month. And you only need to make a deposit, $300 deposit to secure a package. So if you're way early in the process, that's actually great because we love people way early. We do everything from NIFs to bank account to, all the way through your first couple of years. And then also we are starting a veteran program for veterans, 10% off any purchase. And that's a permanent thing.
That's really kind and generous of you. Thank you very much for being here. You are with us twice a month. And as you said, we were talking about doing some specialist webinars as well, at a time possibly easier for people in the United States to tune into.
Yes, we're talking about 9:30 Lisbon time, PM, which is great. Also better time for Heather because I get more than like 5 hours of sleep or less, which was last night because I'm a night owl. So so it'll be good. We'll talk about that soon.
Brilliant. Cheers, Heather. It's been always fun hanging out with you. That time has flown for me. And thanks, everyone, for your contributions today. It's a team effort. Thank you for being here. See you again tomorrow for some feel-good Friday fun. And perhaps the webinar tonight when we're talking to Jackie. Cost of living and all about how her expectations were exceeded. Take care. Bye for now. Have a great day.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao. Cheers,
Bye.
Heather.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bom dia, Portugal! In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.